Once again from Texas Frightmare Weekend here in Dallas, Texas, it is the infamous Joe Pilato. Of course, most of you guys recognize him as the nefarious Rhodes from Day of the Dead. Certainly one of the most iconic characters in the Dead series, I think.
And nefarious. We got two great words, iconic and nefarious. How are you folks? How you doing? Thanks for being fans. It's a great thing.
You know, one thing about the character, and as we talked a minute ago, I didn't want to dwell too much on Day of the Dead because, of course, you certainly have other things you can talk about to the folks out there. But the typical questions you get, I'm sure, how many times over the course of this weekend have people asked you about the rotten intestines in the refrigerator, and how painful it was to have to endure the whole being buried under the floor with that stuff. Is that something you get pretty regularly from the fans that come up to talk about the movie?
I have no idea what you're talking about. No, I'm teasing. Yeah, a lot of people ask, and it's good because it's kind of folkloric legend about the film, and everybody wants to know, and it's a good story, and I don't mind telling it, and it kind of makes it more fun and more interesting, and it just shows you that genre fans do their homework, so stay in school.
Well, George Romero said on I think a documentary on the Day of the Dead DVD that it's as far as of course at the time the trilogy, and now what we're into what would you call a 5-part series. You either love it or you hate it. Personally, nothing against Mr. Romero or any of the other movies, but Day of the Dead was actually my favorite of the.
Gunshot.
Yeah.
To me right here, so I don't want to get. I'm sorry. Day is what?
Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead personally is my favorite of, and I have not seen Diary of the Dead, and certainly plan on seeing that at some point in time. But of the 4 that I have seen, it's head and shoulders. Whether it was because the time it was made and the storyline, certainly my favorite of the 4 that I have seen.
Well, it's surprisingly, I mean, it's the favorite. We can't use trilogy anymore. You're right. I think it's a quinfecta. It's something. I can't remember what it was. Pentagon. Pentagram. It's surprisingly, it's a lot of people's favorite. Unfortunately, doesn't get written up much. I was just reading a review of Diary in the L.A. Times, and they were talking about George's body of work, and they named everything except Day of the Dead. And I'm like, hey, you guys need to be slapped around here.
Exactly.
But it's got a very loyal and very together fan base, and hopefully they'll just keep spreading the word.
Well, to kind of get close to wrapping things up here and getting off the topic of Day of the Dead, any other projects you've got coming up? Anything else from the past that you really are proud of as far as your body of work goes?
Well, I got something coming out called War Dog, and I'm waiting to start on a project called Dead. Of course, I'm proud of all my George films, Dawn of the Dead, and thanks to the Dario collection, the entirety of my scene was put back in, and I have a nice little my scene with Ed Harris in Night Riders. It was nice to work with Ed. He's a great actor. And then, of course, Wishmaster and Effects, which finally got a release after sitting on a shelf for 30 years, which was, if you haven't seen it, it's a nice, not FX, but Effects, Effects, directed by Dusty Nelson, with John Harrison, Tom Savini, a lot of the Pittsburgh film family, and there's a great documentary about it called After Effects. Yeah, good stuff, and Pulp Fiction and all that neat stuff. You guys, I love you guys. You guys are the greatest fans in the world.
Well, let me ask you one final question. A website, anything that the folks can get to you online via anything like that?
They can get. I don't run it. Somebody else runs it. It's called the official Joe Pilato MySpace page, and I don't own a computer, but I guess I should invest in one. So send some money in, and I'll buy one. But yeah, you could check that out, and that's the official Joe Pilato MySpace page.
Well, I tell you what, I appreciate certainly you taking the time to speak with us. It's
Always.
Joe Pilato.
I dead pit.
Whenever you're making an appearance, wherever you're
All
making
right.
appearances, make sure you stop by and say hello.
Say hello.
Take care, guys.